In the glory days of the Roman Empire, Aemilius, a ruthless nobleman, ruled his estate with cruelty. He owned many slaves, treating them with relentless brutality, especially those who were old and weak. He frequently sold them to the arena to meet a violent end. This cruelty was commonplace in his noble circle, and Aemilius felt no remorse for his violent actions. Aemilius was married to Livia, and they had a young son. Livia often felt uneasy about her husband's behavior. She knew such cruelty would bring misfortune, but Aemilius refused to change. His heart had been corrupted by power and wealth. One day, Aemilius sold an elderly slave named Aurelius to the arena, a man who had served him faithfully for years. Aurelius was forced to fight wild beasts in a brutal spectacle. He struggled valiantly but was ultimately torn apart. Aemilius watched coldly from the stands, feeling no pity. Shortly after, Aemilius went on an outing with his wife and son, traveling through a remote forest. Suddenly, they were attacked by a group of bandits. Livia and their son were killed in the assault, while Aemilius fled in terror. Aemilius was consumed with fear and despair as he fled, feeling the bandits closing in behind him. Just as he was about to be captured, a familiar figure appeared, pulling him into a hidden cave for safety. It was Aurelius, the elderly slave he had once sold to the arena. Aemilius stared at Aurelius in disbelief, unable to comprehend that the slave he had mercilessly sent to the arena was now saving his life. Aurelius explained that despite the cruelty he had endured, he chose to forgive, for he believed that forgiveness was the path to true freedom. Aemilius struggled to understand, but Aurelius's words deeply moved him. For years, Aemilius had only cared about his own interests, treating the lives of others as worthless. Now, for the first time, he began to reflect on his actions. He asked Aurelius, "Why did you save me?" Aurelius smiled and replied, "Because everyone deserves a chance to change, even someone like you. I didn't want hatred to destroy me, and I don't want to see it destroy you." In the cave, Aemilius began to recall his past actions. Every slave he had abused, every life he had sent to the arena, weighed heavily on his conscience like a crushing burden. He could no longer ignore his guilt. After days of reflection, Aemilius decided that he could no longer return to his old life. He apologized to Aurelius and vowed to live a life of kindness and justice from now on. He no longer wished to be the ruthless man he once was. Aurelius accepted Aemilius's apology but reminded him that true change requires action, not just words. He encouraged Aemilius to return to Rome, free his slaves, and use his wealth to help those in need. Upon returning to Rome, Aemilius followed Aurelius's advice and freed all his slaves. He also used his wealth to build shelters and help those who, like him, had once been abandoned by society. The common people of Rome were astonished by Aemilius's transformation. He had gone from being a ruthless nobleman to a man who stood up for the weak. His new image spread quickly throughout the city, and many began to respect him. Though Aemilius had changed, he still carried a heavy burden of guilt. He often thought of the slaves he had mistreated and sent to their deaths, especially Aurelius. He began visiting the arena regularly, hoping to catch a glimpse of Aurelius, though with faint hope. The arena was always packed with spectators, and in the center, slaves fought ferocious lions and tigers. This brutal spectacle brought Aemilius face to face with the sins of his past once again. At the arena, Aemilius met several slaves who had been sold to fight alongside Aurelius. They told him that Aurelius had miraculously survived one of the contests and was released afterward, leaving Rome to start a new life. Upon learning that Aurelius had survived, Aemilius's heart was filled with hope. He decided to set out to find the old man, not only to thank him for saving his life but also for teaching him the true meaning of forgiveness and compassion. Emilius's journey lasted several months. He traveled far and wide until he finally found Aurelius in a remote mountain village. Aurelius had completely shed his identity as a former slave and was now living a peaceful and simple life. When Emilius saw Aurelius, he knelt down, tears of remorse streaming from his eyes, expressing endless gratitude and apologies to the old man. Aurelius smiled and helped him to his feet, telling Emilius that forgiveness had already been given many years ago. Emilius decided to stay in the village and live a peaceful life alongside Aurelius. He no longer desired power or wealth but chose to spend the rest of his days helping those in need, learning kindness and wisdom from Aurelius. Years later, Emilius passed away peacefully in the small village, carrying with him endless gratitude for Aurelius and remorse for his past sins. His story was told throughout the village, becoming a legend of forgiveness, redemption, and kindness.